Hey rockers, welcome back to the channel, man. A lot of you guys have been asking for more GG Allin, and that's exactly what you're gonna get tonight, man. Yeah, I'm back with another GG Allin tale. I've been partaking in the 420 for a little bit longer than 420, so happy 421, man. Haha, cheers. We're going back in time to back when I was 20 years old. The year 1986, Madison, Wisconsin. We're going to talk about the Hated in the Nation Tour #2. And the show that I'm going to tell you about is documented on these flyers back in the day. These are not originals. These are copies of the flyers that happened from O'Kay's Corral in Madison, Wisconsin, 1986. Yeah, here's another flyer from the same show. Not the best lighting in here. I do apologize. Anyway, if you're a fan of GG Allin, you already know what to expect, or at least you know what road we're going down. If you are not a fan of GG Allin and you're somebody that's easily offended or shocked, or you don't want to hear gross stuff or scary stuff, this video might not be for you. So I'm giving the disclaimer for those of you that are just into, you know, classic rock or some punk rock or some metal, but not the shock rock, because this is going to get a little shocking. My friends, I have talked about GG Allin on this channel many times. You can look under the video section to find the other videos about GG and my stories with him in the 1980s and 1990s. Tonight, we're going to talk about Thursday, August the 7th, 1986, going back to O'Kay's Corral, Madison, Wisconsin. I was on tour with GG. Hated in the Nation #2. I was his opening act doing spoken word poetry, right? It didn't always work out so well, to be honest, but it was a lot of fun, and at least I had some kind of role besides just hanging out and partying, because we did a lot of that partying stuff. Second tour, I hopped on a Greyhound bus in Peoria, Illinois. Got to Chicago about 3 hours later, maybe 4 hours, because the buses are slow going to Chicago. Then I went to the Trailways bus station in Chicago and hopped on a bus headed towards Madison, which is where I was going to meet GG. Now, the original itinerary for the Hated in the Nation Tour #2 was planned. It was going to be a 2-week tour. It did not work out that way. Many times, GG's tours turned into just, you know, shit shows. Originally, it was supposed to be Boston, Toledo, Ohio, Madison, Wisconsin, Champaign, Illinois, Chicago, Newport, Kentucky, Detroit, Mississippi, New Orleans, Memphis, Tennessee, and New York City. But it just didn't work out that way. So anyway, let's just get back to my story. I'm on the bus, Trailways, headed towards Madison, thinking, is GG going to be there? Is GG going to show up? Will he have missed his bus? This was the days before cell phones, man, so I had no way of knowing whether he was going to be there even. And we're talking at least an 8-9 hour journey on my part to get to Madison, Wisconsin from Peoria, Illinois. And I had this suitcase that I brought, right? And I thought, oh, I'm going to need this merch. I'm going to need this clothing. I'm going to need this weed. I'm going to need this and that. By the time I was done packing that suitcase, it was like a big regular size family suitcase, like leather, zipped up, super heavy. And I felt like an idiot, but I thought, I need this stuff. What an idiot. Later on in life, I learned how to travel very lightly. And when I travel these days, I bring hardly anything. But back then, I thought I needed all this stuff. So here I am on a bus headed to meet GG. I was hoping. And next thing you know, I arrive in Madison, Wisconsin. I made my way to the station carrying this heavy-ass suitcase. Made my way to the club slowly. As I was going to the club, I kept noticing telephone poles and different signs stapled and taped up in different places. And these were GG Allin posters about the show that I was going to be helping perform at the O'Kay's Corral that very night in Madison, Wisconsin. I was definitely paranoid. I got there about 3:30 in the afternoon. Again, carrying this heavy suitcase. The Capitol building of Wisconsin, or Madison, is not far from O'Kay's Corral, which is located, or was, I don't know if it's still there or not. 504 East Wilson Street. By the way, please take a moment to subscribe to the channel, like the video if you would do me that favor, and leave a comment below if you want to. Let me know if you were at the OK's Corral show, man, or if it's still there. Do you know? Anyway, I noticed all the poles, all the GG flyers are everywhere. When I get to the club, it's locked, right? It's not open yet. And there's a note taped to the door. It says bloody. And I'm like, oh, there's GG's handwriting. Well, I open the note up and it says basically for me to wait at the club and that he will return. So I thought, cool, at least I know he's here. I can stop being paranoid about whether he's here. Well, 2 hours later, 2 long-ass hours later, GG shows up, and guess what kind of state of mind he was in? He was slobbering drunk, literally. He was looking real burned out, scuzzy, wearing his dog collar. He had smudgy black eyeliner around his eyes. He looked tired as hell. He had real glassy red eyes, his black skull bandana. He had some cut-off short shorts on. They're like jean shorts, and his old, famous, beat-up cowboy boots. Yep. And again, he was drunk and slobbering. Me, I had a bunch of weed with me, so I remember in previous videos trying to remember whether GG smoked weed with me very often, but I went back to my Hated in the Nation fanzines, which are around here somewhere, and I was able to consult my very memories in real time. Back then, I documented this stuff. I was able to go to the recording, by the way, too, from this show, which you can find on GG Allin, Insult to Injury, Volume 2, it's called The Bloody Years, and this recording from this show in Madison is on there. So I heard that, I went back and read my original diary and Hated in the Nation, the fanzine, and I constructed what I remember, and this is what you're hearing right now. GG's basically did smoke weed with me at this show, because when he got there and he was drunk, he wanted something to level him out. So we smoked some weed outside the bar, and then it was time for a sound check, which was cool. There was a local band, don't remember their name, but GG had somehow prearranged for these guys to learn some of his tunes and play live with them, which they did, and they did a fine scummy job. It was cool, you know. Not sure what they were called. There was another band on the bill that opened the show called Crossbones, and I'll tell you more about them in a minute. But the band sounded cool. GG sounded great at the sound check. I was excited to see him play with a band. And then as soon as they were done with sound check, we started to get hammered. And I mean, throwing back the tequila, drinking beer. GG was drinking whiskey. We were just having a good old time, man. And I thought, no harm done. Just a couple of guys on the road, drinking some booze at the bar, getting ready to raise some hell and throw down, man, throw down. So we were throwing down the booze. The bar starts filling up with people. The opening band, Crossbones, finally goes on. We're having a lot of fun talking to people. GG's extremely pleasantly surprised at the crowd. A bunch of the Kenosha, Wisconsin crowd came down, including Dean Dirt from 1096. Rest in peace, my brother. Mooney, later the drummer of 1096, and at the time was drumming for the band U.S. Distress. Lisa Loring. It was a great time, man. Lots of people there. The place was kind of small, but it was packed, real intimate. All kinds of people, man. It was just basically just a ton of different types of people. Jocks, students, metalheads, punks, and a lot of older straight types. Or should I say unsuspecting victims. Yeah. Well, eventually, as we continue partying, Crossbones goes on. They do some music like The Cramps and some different rock and roll covers. They were cool, you know. The bar got really packed, like super full. I got up on stage to do my 10-minute opening set of spoken word poetry per my and GG's agreement. And it seems like his band wasn't given the message that I was on the bill and I was not on the flyer for this particular show. I was a little pissy about it, but I kept thinking, it's GG's show, I'm not going to worry about it. So I swallowed my pride. But when I got up there, that goddamn guitar player and drummer wouldn't quit sound checking. They just wouldn't give me any kind of respect. But I think it's because I was completely out of my head drunk, man. I mean, I'm talking, I was in a blackout state. Very unruly, very verbally abusive, very much out of control. People were laughing at me. I wasn't even aware of it until I heard the tapes later. But I was out of control in my own world. And these guys were probably sick of me. So in retrospect, no harm done and no hard feelings. But I'm just telling you, at the time, I was pissed. I was 20 years old. I was drunk. I was on tour with Gigi freaking Allen, right? I already had an attitude, man. And Gigi liked me because I would raise a lot of hell. And he thought it was funny. Well, I was verbally expressive. I got up there to do my set. I was trying to do it. The guy's just playing drums. The guy's tuning up guitar. And then I started yelling and screaming. And finally, you know, after calling the audience tons of names and maybe doing 5 minutes worth of poetry, I ripped up my entire script of all my spoken word poetry, and people were like laughing at me, and I probably did them all a big favor. I was saying stuff like, yeah, screw you, you know, Greg Brady, you know, Groovy Greg, Mr. Brady, and calling people yuppies, and Gigi was yelling at people, and it was just getting really intense, man. And we didn't know what to expect, really, but these guys wouldn't let me finish my damn spoken word set, so I finally got off stage, but I was really, really unruly. They told Gigi, too, don't get naked, because if you get naked, that's the only rule. No getting naked, or the show's over. So Gigi said, fine. He's up there with his jockstrap on. Crossbones had already finished, you know. The band's up there, tuning up, and getting ready to play. And Gigi's ready to play, standing up there with his jockstrap on. And I'm just in a really pissy mood because of what happened on my set. And I decided, you know, I'm not going to take this. And in my drunken state of mind, I thought, I'll show these people. They said Gigi can't get naked, but what if I help him get naked? What's going to happen? And my stupid 20-year-old drunk, blacked out ass walks up to the stage, and I yank Gigi's jockstrap down to his knees, and he's up there just laughing, and people are gagging, and the owner was livid. So they immediately grabbed me. The couple of big bouncer dudes grabbed me and kind of lift me off my feet, and as I'm screaming, I'll kill you, I'll get you, I'll set this place on fire, I was just screaming bloody murder, angry, blacked out drunk, and these guys had me outside the door in about 10 seconds. Poof! And you could hear Gigi on the recording saying, he's out of here. It was too funny, man. So here we are. The show hasn't even started, and I'm thrown out, but yet Gigi's still on stage, right? Well, what he was on stage on, it was like a little platform stage, one of those real small ones that runs across the back of a bar. But behind the stage, to the back of the drummer, was a big plate glass window. So anybody walking by the bar could see who was performing by watching in the window, right? Of course, when they look in, they would see a drummer, and then they'd see like some naked guy or guy's butt up on stage wearing a jockstrap. Well, next thing you know, I'm one of those people. I'm on the sidewalk, Gigi's on stage, the band's playing, and he starts yelling at the audience, yeah, we're just going to turn our backs to all you people, and we're going to play to the people that can't get in on the outside. It was so punk rock, man. It was great. And I was out there, yeah, Gigi, and I was flipping him off, and he was like playing to us outside on the sidewalk, and there was a lot of people that, you know, couldn't afford to get in, and there's some underage punk rockers. It was highly, highly funny. He starts going physically crazy as soon as the band starts kicking into I Want to F Your Brains Out. I mean, he just starts going ape crap. Like, he's just going all over the place. They break into I Want to Grape You. But yeah, that's the second song, right? And he's going completely ballistic. People in the audience are tripping because they'd heard about this crazy rocker from the East Coast. They see him up there with the jockstrap. His opening act's already been thrown out, and it was just nuts. Gigi's all over the place. He's like having convulsions. The crowd was loving him, and some were hating him. Again, you know, such a group of unsuspecting victims, right? During the third song, which was Teacher's Pet, he was on the floor convulsing, pounding the mic into his face repeatedly, into his teeth repeatedly, until he actually lost a tooth. Blood was dripping all down his face. His teeth were just completely damaged. Like I say, a tooth was missing. He jumped up on the bar, and there was a bunch of girls sitting at the bar. He jumped up and dived at all these chicks. They all start screaming. Stuff's flying everywhere, glasses, stuff's hitting the floor. People are freaking out. The band's still playing, right? I'm outside the window like, yes! We're all egging him on, and Gigi is completely possessed at this point, right? Well, as soon as that song ends, the manager or the bartender tells Gigi, you're going to stay on the stage, no nudity, and if you break either one of those rules one more time, you're out of here, and the show stopped. So Gigi's like, yeah, okay. And he's saying, yeah, this guy's, at least he's had enough balls to book me. He's cool. Talking about the manager, right? So he's saying, okay, fine, I'll meet you in the middle. Let me keep playing, and I'll stay on the stage. And he did. He stayed on the stage, and he kept his clothes on. But me being triple blind drunk, I was just out there raising hell, and the bouncer was walking out, and you could hear me yelling stuff like, you're gonna pay for this, and he's like, I'm gonna pay, and I'm, threatening the guy, and I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna break that window tonight, and I go, no one here even knows my name, nobody, and the guy's like walking towards me, and I'm like, you can hear me on tape, this is all recorded, and you can hear me screaming, stay away from me, I don't like people, I don't like anyone at all, and meanwhile, Gigi's in there still facing towards the street, and he's playing to the crowd, and he's also playing to the people on the street, and it was just freaking hilarious, man. I remember I was wearing a black shirt that said hate across it, which was my band at the time, and then you turn it over, it said suck my ass on the back, and Gigi was known for saying suck my ass a lot at that point in time in history, because he hung out with me. I actually think I gave him one of those hate shirts at one point, that we had two that were identical, and I think he had one of those shirts at one point. But Gigi's on the mic, and he sees me outside raising hell, and he's like in between songs, and he's like, Bloody Mess, the opening act on my US tour. I was always proud of that one, man. I was like, oh, Gigi. But yeah, I was out there being completely livid. Again, you can hear this on the Bloody Year CD, or you can go to my other YouTube channel. It's called The Church of Rock, all one word, and type in Gigi Allin, Madison, Wisconsin, 1986, and you'll hear the recording of the 3 songs that I got on tape that night. I cannot remember if, in fact, he played any other songs after those 3 songs. I think he actually did. I want to say he actually played another 3, 4, 5 songs, but I don't remember. If you were at the OK show, please leave in the comments below if you remember more than 3 songs. Did I tell you guys the 3rd song? Teacher's Pet. Yeah, Teacher's Pet was the 3rd song he did. They were all really good versions of the songs. He was doing the vocals and all that, but he was also in the crowd, on the floor, on the bar, and all over the place, bleeding like a madman. After the show's over, I just remember Gigi being on the sidewalk with a whole group of us crazies like Mooney and Dean and all these punk rockers. And it was all the people that liked the show, the people that liked the chaotic stuff, And we sat outside and drank and harassed all the people that didn't like us, basically. It was a lot of fun, man. I will say that Gigi did something to Mooney of the oral type, if you know what I'm saying. Yeah, right in front of everybody, right there on the sidewalk. He gave Mooney a snow job. You know what I'm saying. And I got permission from Mooney to tell you guys. He's like, everyone else knows about it. But it wasn't like it was planned. It was a drunken thing. And then Gigi did it kind of for shock value, or, just impulsively. But it was hilarious at the time. And at one point, I actually had photos of this event happening. So maybe a little TMI for you, but hey, that's what happened. Moon, sorry, because Mooney watches this YouTube channel. Uh-oh, there's my dog barking. Just because I mentioned Moon, my dog starts barking. See, Mooney? That's my instant karma for talking about you. The dog just ruined my video. Thanks, bro. Haha, love you, Mooney. Anyway, after we hung out, we all went to a party. Somebody invited us to a party. Some idiot invited us to a party. I don't know what they were thinking, but as we were at the party, Gigi ended up getting really, really drunk on whiskey, and he ended up punching a window and putting his fist through a window, and whoever owned the place freaked out on us, kicked him out. And of course, he's like, yeah, I don't even care. He was the belligerent one now, right? And I had kind of come down off my buzz, and I was like, why are you getting so out of control, bro? But now he had been drinking more and more, right? He's probably bleeding from that tooth hurting and trying to get rid of the pain, and he was just drinking the whiskey. Well, we all decided to leave with Gigi, of course, and this is where things get real fuzzy in my mind. I was on tour with Gigi, right? I don't remember what happened, but I think there was some kind of argument. There was some kind of disagreement, or I just forgot what was going on, and me and Gigi were literally both blacked out drunk. I had my big suitcase with me, and the next thing I know, it's the next morning. I wake up, open my eyes, I'm in the back seat of a car, it's light out, we're in a field in the middle of like the country, like in Beloit, Wisconsin, I think. I'm not even sure how far from Madison that is, but it was Lisa Loring's car from Kenosha and Mooney from a USD/1096 with his big old mohawk. And we all wake up in a field, and I'm like, holy hell, where's Gigi? And they're like, we don't remember. And I'm like, where's my suitcase? We don't know. It was a nightmare, man. I freaked. I mean, I had all my stuff in my suitcase, and I'm thinking, why did I bring that suitcase? You know, when Gigi arrived at that club to meet me, you know what he had with him? A little bag with like nothing in it, like hardly anything at all. And I felt like such an idiot. And he completely made fun of me, like, what the hell, did you bring everything you own or something? And I was like, what an idiot. That was like my first time ever learning you don't need all that crap on the road, man, because when you're on the road, you tend to accumulate more crap anyway, so it's better to just not bring much. I ended up going ahead and staying with my friends from Wisconsin. They drove back to Kenosha, and I just went there and stayed with Dean Dirt, the singer for 1096, and my best friend, and well, one of my best friends, next to Mooney and a few others. But Dean Dirt, I stayed at his house for a couple nights. Finally was able to get a hold of Gigi through some friends of mine in Chicago area. Reconnected with him, found out that he had gotten, went with Dean and a group of his friends from Chicago, and they had a whole different party, and we ended up just getting separated. So anyway, I stayed at Dean's for a couple days, and then after that, we ended up going to Chicago so Gigi Allin could play at the Exit Club, and that is going to be a separate story. But let me tell you this. Before that, we were supposed to take a bus to Champaign, Illinois. But Gigi and I, being separated, him in Chicago, me in Kenosha, we were in touch by phone, and we knew we had this gig to do in Champaign, Illinois. There was flyers out for that. Damn it, I meant to get one of those out to show you guys. But the show never happened because we couldn't make it logistically to the show. So a lot of times these days people say, yeah, man, I went to that Champaign show. It did happen, but not with Gigi or myself. I wish I would have brought that flyer out to show you. I do sell flyers that I sign that are the flyers that were shows that I did with Gigi Allin. They're copies of the originals. You can hit me up in my email, which is in the description area of all my videos. And the next video that I do is going to be about the Exit show. But I got a little bonus for you guys. I made a big note of memorable banter heard during the OK's Corral show that I just talked about, man. This is stuff that was caught on tape during the show. We're super insulting the crowd. I'm up there just drunk and yelling at everyone because I'm pissed off because my spoken word set got cut off. And Gigi's just getting riled up for his show in particular. We're both up there yelling at the audience, totally different worlds, but both negative and weird. And Gigi finally realizes what's going on, and he looks over, sees that I'm kind of being more negative even. And he goes, yeah, looks over at me and looks at the crowd. He goes, yeah, we're going to get married next week. Talking about me and him. And then you can hear some guy in the crowd go, married? I'm like, idiot, took it seriously. And Gigi says, and then after Gigi says we're gonna get married, I'm like, yeah, and we're gonna shit on your last living relative. Just some drunken stuff, man. And we were calling the crowd a bunch of yuppie rednecks, and you can hear some people and some guy in the crowd says, we're not rednecks, are we? And then of course I called somebody Mr. Brady and said, groovy Greg. Another guy too, we were up there yelling and screaming, and you could hear some dude saying, these guys are non-conformists. That was a good one. What else? You could hear, you could hear somebody else get, Gigi Allin sucks. And then you could hear Gigi say, you can suck my ass. And then somebody else says, before Gigi even started, somebody else, you suck. Are you done yet? That was pretty funny. And then you could hear another person on the recording say, I don't want to get hurt, knowing that there was some weird stuff getting ready to happen. When I was outside the window too, man, banging on the window and Gigi was playing to us on the sidewalk, it was classic stuff, man. I used to have photos of this stuff, but I lost them all in the 2020 fires here. But when I was outside that window raising hell, Gigi could hear me out there screaming, and he says on the mic, what a guy! That's my twin brother! And you could hear that recording on the recording I told you about. And then at one point, somebody says something about Gigi and his penile section, and he goes, I'm a cockbroker. Let's see. Then he says at one point, are there any girls that want to get effed here tonight? He goes, I know Bloody does. You can hear him say that very well. You could hear some guy in the audience say, the epitome of hardcore, which was funny. At one point, Gigi declared on stage, this is my stage from now on. That was a good one. At the end of the show, you could hear some guy in the crowd yell, "Now that's rock and roll!" after Gigi was done. That was hilarious, man. And then the last thing I remember on the recording was Gigi saying, "Believe me, it's not easy being me." That was such a classic thing, man. You know, you got to give it up for some of the funny stuff that Gigi used to say, man. It was one of the most intense shows we'd ever done together. And like I say, I got thrown out before he even got to play the damn thing. The funny thing, at the very end of the recording that happened, it ended with me and Gigi on the sidewalk after the show, not long after at all, maybe 10 minutes. We're out there, and all of a sudden, I start talking about HR Puffin stuff. I said, "Who's God? HR Puffin stuff." And then Gigi starts clapping, and he starts going, "HR Puffin stuff. Who's your pal when things get rough?" And then he goes, "What's the rest?" I'm like, that's too funny, man. Gigi was an HR Puffin Stuff fan, and that was my favorite show when I was a little kid, man. Listen, man, thanks for listening to one of my crazy tales. I have a lot more Gigi Allen stories. I just like to space them out a bit, man. When I come back the next time and talk about Mr. Allen, I'm going to talk about the show that happened at the Exit Club the night after the, when we got back together after getting separated for a couple days there in Chicago and Wisconsin. Listen, man, please subscribe, rock and roll, stay cool, stay young, and come back for more. Take care, man. Cheers.